Hello, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I am good. I am good. And I am super excited because we have an incredible guest on the podcast this week, guys. So, we are bringing to you the amazing Nicola Morgan. Now, with over 25 years' experience in education and a high reputation for successfully managing the most challenging classes and pupils, Nicola now runs training courses for schools and parents. Her business is called NSM, Training and Consultancy, and she is also an author and a keynote speaker. Her recent talk being one on the incredible TEDx stage, where I was so grateful to be right there in that audience, listening to you deliver that live, Nicola. It was incredible, and it was everything that I needed to hear that day. So we are so excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Welcome,
Oh,
Nicola.
thank you so much. I've been so excited since you sent me that email to come on the podcast. And I'm here and I can't wait.
Yes, amazing, amazing. Well, Kat's listened to the TED Talk, haven't you, as well today? And honestly,
Oh,
it really is a game-changing one.
yeah, it blew me away. And I just we had a little chat before hitting record. And like I said to you, Nicola, I was just fully engrossed and with you for everything you shared on the TED Talk. And yeah, I don't want to spoil
Yeah.
because I know you're going to share it with us. But yeah, I got to the end and I was just right there with you, and the emotion and the shifts, it was just, yeah, it's everything. So you're going to absolutely want to listen to Nicola's TED Talk after listening to this podcast, 100%, guys. But yeah, I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to let Nicola tell us all about it.
Yes. So we thought we'd start, Nicola, by if you just wanted to share a bit more of your story with us and how you got up there and got to the point of speaking out on a TEDx stage.
Oh gosh. Well, do you know, it's always been one of my ambitions to do a TEDx talk, but it's one of those things that you think, I'd like to do that, but you probably never get around to doing it. And I think the whole kind of story started with me back in 2016 when I remember I was in a cafe and I was having a chat to a colleague. And I said, you know what? I really feel like swimming the English Channel. And she said, oh, great, go for it. So you're a really good swimmer. I said, no, I can just about swim a few lengths of a pool. My technique is pretty terrible, but why not me? And I think that is the key phrase I always hold on to. And that is, why not me? I see other people doing this stuff, swimming the English Channel, climbing Mount Everest, having a lovely property, being on a TEDx stage. Why not me? What's different about me? So anyway, cut a long story short, I jumped in Dover in 2017 on my way to France. And after about 14 and a half hours, I got pulled out. Why? Because I was stuck in a current for 2 hours. I hadn't moved anywhere.
Oh.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
And I didn't look good. I did not look good at all.
Oh.
And I got pulled onto the boat. And I think for my other half who was on the boat and part of the crew, the worst thing the pilot could have possibly said was, hey, don't worry about it. This is unfinished business. And I thought, yes, I'm going to go back in and do it again. And in 2019, I jumped back in and I nailed it. And I think really the reason why I nailed it in 2019 was really going back to the drawing board and realizing that, look, you're not the best swimmer. You're certainly not the best open water swimmer, because I hadn't really been in open water until about 2016. So I was very, very new to the whole process. But the thing is, if you start accessing the right information, the right resources, surround yourself by the right people. And I was seeing people around me that were doing these swims. And rather than just sitting back and thinking, oh, I wish I could do that, I was engaging with them and saying, look, can I take you out for a drink? Can I take you out for a meal? You know, can we meet up? Because I want to find out more of how can you do this? You know, what are you doing differently to me? And I think that was part of the process of actually nailing the channel swim then in 2019. But for me as well, one of the other reasons I wanted to do it, working with children, working with young people, working with parents, and sometimes they have the notion of, I can't do it, you know, or I'm too scared to do it, or it's impossible, or what will people think of me, or I'll make a fool of myself. And I always want to empower them by saying, look, why not me? If this is what you want, you can do it. Don't worry about anything else. You can do it. And you know what? Recently, I came across a really good quote by Aristotle, and it really kind of resonated with me, because when I got on that TEDx stage, my biggest fear was making a fool of myself. You know, and people thinking, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing, because it's a storytelling TED talk and I've never done one before. And this quote from Aristotle says this: there is only one way to avoid criticism. Say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. And I think that just about sums it up. And it's about having the courage to step outside your comfort zone and doing something you wouldn't normally do. Being scared, you know, that's fine. Maybe thinking it's impossible, that's fine as well. But just making that movement outside your comfort zone and see what happens. And that's what I did.
Oh, that's so freeing, isn't it?
Wow.
Like, you just worded that perfectly. And it is about doing those things that are different, surrounding yourself, you know, with people doing it, asking the questions, getting curious. Love that. Love it.
I'm just like, where to start with this, Nicola? Like, first of all, swim in the channel, you know, going back and doing it a second time. And I think, you know, having the captain kind of say, oh, this is unfinished business, like you say, for your partner, was like, oh, she's gonna come back and do it.
Yeah.
That moment of like, but to get far in as well, would you say like 14.5 miles in, you know, you were considerable way. Is it like 20 something miles, is it? Or I might have this wrong.
No, you are right. It's 21 miles in a straight line, but I've never seen anyone swimming in the sea in a straight line.
No.
So those miles mount up quite considerably. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but more people reach the summit of Everest than actually successfully swim the English Channel.
Wow.
Wow.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. And to go, this is unfinished business. I'm going back, I'm going to do it again. And that reposition, that reframe from like, I haven't failed here. There's just another attempt. And I just want to pick up on what you've said. There's many things, but the why not me? I love that, to shift from, because we often like think that I wish I could do that. I wish I could, but we just limit ourselves so much, don't we? We think that's not me, that's not who I am, that's not something I can do. But to just change it to be like, well, why not me? And remove those limits is absolutely everything, isn't it?
Absolutely. And for me, like you mentioned in the introduction, you know, I'm an author, and yes, I am an author, and I'll hold my hand up. I am a published author. Some of my books are published by J.K. I was going to say J.K. Rowling. It's not J.K. Rowling at all. Love that. Yes. I can't even think of the publishing company now. That's completely thrown me off. But the other one that I write an awful lot for now is Routledge, Taylor and Francis. So we're really big up there in the academic world. But the thing is, I struggle to read and I struggle to write. I am dyslexic, but I remember many years ago when I was teaching, and I thought, well, if people are writing books, why not me? Why can't I do it? Yeah, it's going to take me a lot longer to write a book, and it does. It takes me about 2 or 3 times or 4 times the length of time. But if you're determined to do something, you'll find another way to achieve it. And that's one thing that I'm trying to get into schools right now and with children and young people, is that when you see a problem, don't just see the problem as the problem. There are so many ways around that problem. And that's why I encourage teachers to start to use choices, to model choices, that there's not one way. We have different options here. And the more that we model choices, the more that they're going to be picking up and thinking, hold on a minute, there's another way around this. And it's finding that other way. And I think for me, swimming the English Channel, everyone that knows me knows I am not a good swimmer. Okay. They've told me enough at times. Okay. They really, really have. But what got me through that channel swim was my mind and my mindset. And I think that is really key. If you pick a goal and you're determined to get that goal, your mind will find a way. My body didn't have a clue, but my mind found a way. And that's what nailed it for me.
That's amazing. And you also mentioned about obviously going back and doing it the second time, the doing something different, and the whole idea that success leaves clues. So you were like chatting with and being in the space with others that were doing it alongside you, that had already done it perhaps. And that's just so important, isn't it? To put yourself in those spaces where you can learn from others that are doing the same things or have already achieved a thing, which is really important. And just, yeah, that shift in doing something different.
Oh, definitely. And I remember Steve, very, very competent swimmer. And he nailed the channel. He's done some other massive swims as well. And I remember I had a chat with him and I said, look, what do I need to know? What do I need to know? What information can you impart with me now? And he said this, he said, Nick, you're going to hit a wall when you get in that water. It's a mind wall. You're going to hit that wall. And when you hit it, that's when people touch the boat and they pulled out on the boat and then you're disqualified from the channel swim. He said, you're going to hit the wall. So just name it to tame it and just drive through it. And I remember because it was about 12 o'clock at night, I started doing the swim. So when I got in the water, it was dark. Yeah, it was your worst nightmare. And I say on the TED Talk, you know, all I had rattling through my head was the theme music to Jaws. I've got such an imagination. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And it got to a point, I think, after being about 3 hours in, that I even shouted out to the team, I hit the wall. And I'd hit the wall about half an hour before. But if it wasn't for him giving me these kind of just key points, I probably would have pulled out. And it's those key points that we need to hold on to. And I think engaging and connecting with people around us is so, so very important, because we're all experts in our own field. And it's about sharing that information to help the other person.
Oh, that's incredible.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I know at the beginning of your talk, you really go into kind of that mind, you know, the things that we tell ourselves and how harsh we can really be on ourselves. And it's almost like we feel like we shouldn't hit a wall, when in reality, everybody has a wall that we have to get to the other side, don't we? And I think, like you say, in naming that wall and knowing that you're going to drive through it, there's so much that goes on inside when you do that, isn't there? It's the challenge, but then it's like mentally, you've just proved to yourself all that you can actually do. And like, it's kind of then like, what next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. I really liked what I was listening to an interview about Elon Musk, and what they said about him, and one of the reasons he's become so successful is that he always says, I know I'm going to fail. I know I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
So every time he fails, he thinks, well, there you go. I knew I was going to do that. Let's move on. It's not a big deal. And it's like that wall. I know I'm going to hit a wall. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're going to move past it. We're going to carry on.
Yeah.
And I think part of the TED Talk as well is about that kind of strategy, about delaying the urge to give up. These things come onto our path and we just got to name them, to tame them, see them for what it is. It's perfectly normal. It's perfectly natural. Just hold fire, steady yourself, and then carry on again.
Yes.
And that is so, so important.
Yeah.
It really is. And thinking about, you know, like you said, about everyone is an expert in their own way. And just thinking about the whole idea of like never giving up and not failing. It's like nobody starts as an expert. Like, we're all beginners wherever we start, in whatever we're doing. We're all beginners, aren't we? We've got to start somewhere. And if we kind of change those expectations, that we might get it a bit wrong, it might be a bit messy, we might have to go back and do it again, but be okay with that and be aware of that, like Elon Musk, rather than seeing it as such a bad and a negative thing that go, oh, I couldn't possibly do that again. It's like, well, actually, I'm going to find my way. And the first time, yeah, it's not going to be that pretty, but the second time better, the third even better. And I think just building on that is so important, isn't it?
Oh, so much important, because life is hard. Life is full of challenges. Let's not try to make it easy, because we're not going to gain anything from that. And I think part of resilience is about, you know, successfully adapting to these difficulties and these challenging situations. They're always going to come our way. And one of the things that another really good TED Talk, Lucy Holmes, she said, she gave 3 traits of resilient people. And one of those traits was, don't play victim. Don't say, oh, why is this always happening to me? It's always happening. You know, I'm a really bad person, or whatever it is, or I'm incompetent. Don't play victim. Resilient people don't say, why is this happening to me? They say, why is this happening for me? And it's that slight change of wording propels us forward. That's what it is. And I think all life's challenges has a lesson. We either choose to avoid that lesson, or we choose to look at that lesson and figure out, what am I learning from this? And for me, my gosh, I've learned so much, and especially with the Channel Swim, so much in really such a short space of time. But it's just being open to that notion that this is good, this is interesting, this is stretching me, this is developing me, that when I come across another challenge, I have a kind of pot of skills here and strategies that I can pull out to get me through it. And to be honest with you, whenever I come across a challenge now, whatever it is, I always think to myself, Nick, you swam the English Channel, you swam through jellyfish and freezing cold water, you're absolutely exhausted. This challenge now is nothing compared to that.
Yes,
so it just kind of guides me through it relatively okay.
Love that. I love that. You've got swam the English Channel in my back pocket. I'm pulling that one out. Like, it's like proving to ourselves, and it might not, for our listeners, it might not look like the English Channel for them. It might look like something else that creates fear and nerves and a comfort zone push. But doing it and pushing through that. I know recently we had our retreat, didn't we, Charlotte? And it was a comfort zone push for us to go that next level. We talk to women in our membership virtually, but to stand up in person in front of 30 women, that was definitely a comfort zone push for us, wasn't it? So it can look like very different for people in different ways, but it's then when you do it and you're like, well, if I can do that, what else can I do? We walked on hot coals earlier this year, didn't we, at a Tony Robbins event. So it's like, I can walk on hot coals, I can swim the English Channel, I can stand up and deliver a TED talk. What else can I do? And I think this is so important, that because I know at TAGC we don't wear rose tinted glasses, and what you're saying is so true, Nicola. Life is a roller coaster. It is full of challenges, but we always have a choice in how we tackle them, how we see them. And that shift that you've just shared, it's happening to me, or it's happening for me, that is just everything, isn't it? Like, just making that maneuver, and we have a choice, don't we, to do that, to how we see it, and that changes a lot, doesn't it, for us?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I think it's really empowering when we feel that we do have a choice. And sometimes we can be in a situation where we don't feel that we have a choice, but it's kind of just taking that step back, just taking that pause, having that break, delaying, the fact that you might want to throw the towel in, just to delay that and just look at it and think, what are the options available to me now? What can I tap into? And one of my main options that I always tap into is, okay, I don't have the skill base and the knowledge to really overcome this challenge right now, but I have other people in my network that do have that. So I'm going to tap in with them and see what they think. So it's again another kind of take on the whole situation. So it's kind of like looking at all the resources that we do have available to us, not to isolate ourselves from them, but to pull them in and to embrace them. So I think the key take home bit from here is connection. Is connecting with others. I'm a little bit of a loner, shall we say. I don't mind being out on the stage and everything, but then I kind of retire to my own kind of little world. But it's still really important to formulate those connections and to make a kind of conscious move every day. And this is something that I do, is to connect with at least 3 people. Connect with, maybe it could be a gratitude text, or just a checking in text, or just imparting some information, whatever it is. And I consciously do that with at least 3 people a day.
Oh, I love that. And it's such a beautiful way of living life, because I think you kind of are opening doors. Like, I think sometimes we have, like you say, our kind of people around us, don't we? And I know that the online world for me really opened this up, because I started networking online, and so basically I met Kat in a breakout room in a networking event online. And it amazes me just how many people we can meet and expand those networks and connect. And like you say, in different ways, like it could be a gratitude message, it could be to share some information and provide some value, or it could be to ask for help. But that just getting out of your comfort zone and out into another network, meeting people and just seeing what's out there. Like there's so much life out there, isn't there? That we just sometimes have to open our space up a little bit and just, connect. Like you say, connection is key.
It is. We can do a lot on our own, but we can do so much more together, can't we?
Yeah. And I think coming back to what you said about stepping outside your comfort zone, one thing that I came across, I think it's in the book, The Charisma Myth. I think that is the name of the book. And it said, start to learn to feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. And you know what, a few months before my TED talk, I thought, oh my gosh, standing on that stage, all those people, I'm going to feel really nervous. And I thought, right, this is the time now, Nick, to invest your time in feeling comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So I thought, what's the most uncomfortable thing I can do right now in the next few weeks? And I joined the North Wales, because I'm Welsh, by the way. You probably picked up from the accent, didn't you? And I joined the North Wales Business Club, and they had a black tie do, and Anne Whittaker was the keynote there. And I thought, right, I don't know anyone there. It's a black tie do. It's a sit down 3-course meal. I'm going to go on my own.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And the reason I'm telling you that is that's what I told myself before I walked onto that TEDx stage, that Nick, you went to that black tie do on your own. You didn't know anyone. This is easy.
Yeah,
this is easy.
You've got more in your back pocket than swimming the channel, haven't you? Like literally put out all these cards. But I know Shart and I've experienced this, and it gets a little bit addictive, doesn't it? Getting out of your comfort zone. Like at first it's like, oh, it's really uncomfortable, it's scary, and all the fear creeps up, and that's when the inner critic, the volume gets whacked up, who are you to do this? You can't do that. But you know what? When you feel the fear and do it anyway, and dance with the fear and put ourselves and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you're like, oh, what can I do now? Like you kind of get a little bit hooked on it. But you constantly proving to ourselves then that we can do these things, and it's not as scary as it first seemed. Yeah, it could be along the way, but it's all pushing through that to the growth on the other side and going, I did that. What can I do now? And I love that. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and when I'm working in schools and working with children, young people, parents, and even staff, it's exactly what you've just said there. It's like, oh my gosh, I've done that. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. And you can see the motivation coming out of people and thinking, wow, this is incredible. It's like learning a new way of life. Yeah. And it is. But sometimes we have those days that we don't want to get out of bed. We don't want to open the curtains. We have those days. And I described that in the TED talk as the kind of wobbler in us. Yeah. And then other days we think, I need to fight today. I need to fight to do this. And that's the warrior. But it's this little bit in the middle. That's the bit that we kind of need to get more used to and kind of embrace a lot more. And I call it that kind of element of being wise with our time, wise with our connections, wise with our money, wise with our education, wise in taking us out of our comfort zone, bringing us back in. It's that little bit in the middle there that I'm always trying to work on for me, really, I guess, and trying to get others to work on it as well.
Yes, I love that. And you kind of just made me think of something that I wanted to touch on before, was the jellyfish and the challenge within the challenge. Because, oh my goodness, like you don't see it at the time. Imagine so being surrounded by jellyfish and being stung on your way, and the second time round, that is a challenge in a challenge, isn't it? But well, firstly, I'd love to know more on that, what that was like, but also how amazing that you did it anyway, did it with that extra challenge. That's like tick, tick, isn't it?
Oh, do you know what? I've never seen anything like it. It was like, well, one thing when I got into the channel, I always thought that the English channel was going to be quite murky, quite brown. It's not. It's crystal clear. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I reached this one point, and all I can say is there was just a wall going all the way down. I don't know where it ended, and all around me full of jellyfish. I've never, ever seen anything like it in my entire life. And I was looking for a way to avoid them, but there was no way to avoid them. And I thought, well, the only thing I'm going to have to do is just swim through them. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I said when I was swimming through them, but there were a few choice words. Okay? A few kind of colourful bits of language came out of my mouth. But the thing is, yeah, it was like basically just being in your swimming costume and just crawling through a field of stingy nettles. That's ultimately what it was like. And I say in the TED talk, one wrapped around my wrist. So of course, when you're swimming and you're pulling the stroke, you create that swirl. And unfortunately, that swirl got it to wrap around my wrist. But the thing is, I think when you're in situations like that, it is painful. It is horrible. I don't like creepy crawlies or snakes or anything like that. So it's my worst fear. You have to change your focus. You have to force yourself to change your focus. And for me, they were incredible. They were beautiful. They were different shapes, different sizes, different colors. It was a privilege to be there. And that's what I kept on telling myself. And it was one of those situations that I'll never forget. And it was a situation that not many people experience. I bet they wouldn't want to experience it, but that's not the point. But it was just unique. It was just incredible. And I was in the middle of the sea having this experience. Wow. And a few stingy little stings, I can cope with that. But that's what I was telling myself and managed to get through it. But the crew were quite horrified, to be honest with you, because when I got to the other end, they were kind of looking, thinking, I didn't think she was going to do that.
Wow.
But I had to do it.
Wow.
You kind of had two walls, really, like you say, the mental block that we all get to, and then you had a real physical one of jellyfish, like
that you just powered through.
Yeah,
I did. Well, I'm going to say powered through, because I did panic at one point in there, and I did try to push myself away, because there were some pretty big ones as well. And that's when my arm went. So my left arm went. I couldn't move it. It was kind of doing something in the water, and I thought, Nick, look, it can't get much worse than this. So you're just going to have to keep on going now, because I'm not doing this again.
Oh my gosh, Nicola, honestly, resilience to another level, seriously. But you know what really, really excites me? Everything you've shared since we've hit record on this podcast is all to do, can go back to the power we have within us, our mind, and the choices we have in terms of how we talk to ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves, what we believe is possible for us, in a language, our dialogue, how we reframe. It excites me so much because we have a choice in that. And choosing to see the jellyfish in one way, or changing your focus to what beautiful creatures to be surrounded by, that's a move and something to be extremely proud of. But it's exciting because we have that choice, don't we? And I know, Charlotte, this is obviously something we talk about a hell of a lot in our membership, is that we have choice over the words we say to ourselves, the beliefs we have about ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves. And so if we have that choice, we can really harness the power within that to do things like swimming the English Channel, going back and doing it a second time, swimming through jellyfish, going to a black tie event on our own, pushing those comfort zones, building that pride, and turning that into, I wish it could be me, into, why not me? Honestly, I'm just fizzing inside with excitement. And I've got to ask, what on earth is next? What are you doing next?
I don't. You know what? At the moment, I think at the moment I'm kind of concentrating on developing. Although I've got NSM training and consultancy, and I've got another company called the National Education Show. I'm in the process of writing a book for Routledge on resilience, developing resilience. I'm in the process of doing that. And I'm kind of putting myself out there now more than what I have done before for speaking events and so on, because that's what I used to do years ago. And then I got kind of bogged down with the business side. So I'm putting myself back out there now. I have promised my other half that I am going to start learning to speak Welsh. So maybe that, and I'm not a linguist at all, so that's going to be a real challenge. It's been a challenge I put off for years, to be honest with you. So I think that is definitely going to be on the agenda. And for me, I think it's coming back to what I was saying about the warrior, the wobbler, and that little bit in the middle, the why is I'm kind of doing a lot of self-development now, and And Bob Proctor, he's passed away now. He's a really big motivational guru in America. And I was listening to one of his books, and he said on there, the biggest investment, the best investment you can ever make is investing in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is my time now that I'm just kind of working out what is it that I need to not survive situations, but to thrive and to flourish in situations and in life as well. And although I've been talking about changing your focus and all of this, it's still quite raw, if that makes sense. They're raw strategies that I've got to consciously tell myself to do. And I kind of want to get to the point that I'm just unaware that I'm doing these and I'm just doing them naturally. And that's the point that I'm kind of heading to now.
Amazing.
Wowzers.
And that's through doing the things, isn't it? And through just continually making those choices. And that's incredible. And that is a great challenge to learn Welsh. Wow.
Yeah. And
we'll keep that hush hush though, okay?
Yeah.
Just in case.
I love that, Nicola. You've just kind of been aware of doing these things when we're on this journey. Yes, investing in ourselves is absolutely, we are in 100% agreement with that, aren't we, Charlotte?
Yeah.
Is the best investment we will ever make. And going on this journey of self-discovery, self-development, self-empowerment, it is actively and consciously doing these things initially on repeat, because we're rewiring, we're reprogramming until it gets to a point, like you just said, which is such a beautiful thing to be working towards, just an embodiment of who we are. You know, we just get up in the morning and we're still consciously living with intention, but we're just talking to ourselves so naturally in such a different way. Yeah. And that just opens so much up for us, doesn't it, on a personal level, to just really live life full, fulfilled, and just get the most out of every single moment and every single day, because it's not a dress rehearsal. So like, this is the real deal, isn't it, guys? And why not just squeeze the juice out of all of it?
Yeah.
I love that.
And we're always saying, aren't we, like, life is too short. Like, we spend so much time up in our head, knocking ourselves down, beating ourselves up for the smallest step out of line, for a failure that, you know, wasn't a failure. Like, just starting to do the things and see ourselves differently and have a different relationship with ourselves is everything. And I know that's obviously been our journeys as well, Kat, hasn't it, through different comfort zone pushes. And we've definitely not done the English Channel yet. And wow, I love a bit of cold water.
The fact that you said yet. I like the fact you said yet, Charlotte. That's promising.
Did I say yet?
She said yet. We have this on recording.
Intentional.
She said yet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, to be fair, that one, that just the thought of being in the sea and not knowing what's underneath as well, not just the distance. I won't lie, that fills me with all kinds of fears, that honestly, and awe at that one. And I think Everest, you can see everything. For me, there's just a lot you can't see, isn't there?
Yes.
Jellyfish being one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really watching this space then, isn't it, Nicola? Because it sounds like there's some incredible stuff happening. And of course, guys, you must go and watch Nicola's TED Talk, which we will pop into the show notes, won't we? The link to view that.
So it's called Unfinished Business, Delaying the Urge to Give Up. And it is a must watch. So we'll put all those details, won't we, into the show notes. But yeah, if there's anything else, Nicola, you'd like to end on, or maybe like a takeaway that you'd like to share, something to take away from all of, well, a lot of goodness in this episode.
Well, do you know what? I was thinking about this, and I always like to share things that I do myself, rather than just get from a book and just talk about it. And there's one thing that I actively do every single evening, just before I'm about to go to sleep. And it really does help on a number of different levels. One, improved sleep, but also improved focus as well. And also showing gratitude to what you were saying earlier, Kat, you know, about, you know, this is not a dress rehearsal, you know, enjoy every moment. And the background research is from Dr. Martin Seligman. So if you wanted to read into his 1995 study on that, but in simplistic terms, this is all you need to do. Just say out loud, write down, or say in your head, just before you're about to go to sleep or sometime in the evening, 3 things that have put a smile on your face today. 3 things that made you happy. 3 things that made you feel, I don't know, an element of gratitude, whatever it is, however you want to frame it. Because the good thing is that from the sleep point of view, those are the things you're thinking about. So you're going to get a good night's sleep. You're not dwelling on the negatives or the failure or whatever it may be. But also, it just confirms that today has been a good day. And even on your worst day, there are always three things. And even maybe the way that the cat looked at you, that's something that puts a smile on your face. And I think it comes back to the work of Brené Brown. We just need to celebrate the ordinary. It's the ordinary stuff around us, not the big. Yeah, the Channel swim was a big thing, but let's put that to one side. It's about our successes throughout the day. Those are the key things that we need to be focusing on before we go to sleep. And my gosh, it makes a massive difference to our following day.
Perfect.
Amazing. I love that.
There we go. What a fantastic,
what a way to finish.
Yeah, what a way to finish, and sound advice there, Nicola, for something we can all do just before we retire into bed of an evening. And yeah, let's celebrate the ordinary every single day. Oh, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I'm so glad that you went to that TEDx talk, Charlotte, and stepped out of your comfort zone.
Yes, I was going to say, because that was we were just saying before we logged on, that was a comfort zone push for me, that I went on my own there, and I sat in that audience just completely on my own. And then I really had this urge to go and obviously introduce myself to Nicola and share what my thoughts were, and all the other speakers, and I chickened out. But what I did do was say to myself, next time I'm going to make sure that I stay and I do that. And I suppose that's it. I did the one comfort zone push, and then I'm going to go and just, talk, connect, introduce. So yeah, I was very grateful to be in that audience as you delivered that talk. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
No worries at all. Thank you for being here, Nicola, and just for sharing your amazing story with us. And we will speak to you very soon, everyone.
Yep, speak
Thank
soon,
you.
guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.